The stars looked different here. Captain Taman stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge and stared at the view screen. His fingers drummed against the command chair. Every instinct told him this was a bad idea. Every regulation said they should turn around. But something pulled him forward. "Captain, we're approaching the boundary of the Mirai system," Lieutenant Haijin said from her station. Her voice was steady, but Taemin heard the worry underneath. They had served together for 6 years. He knew her tells. "Acknowledged," Taemin replied. He looked at the rest of his small crew. 5 people total on this exploration vessel. 5 humans about to break the most serious law in galactic space. The Mirai system had been forbidden for 10,000 years. Not by human law, by everyone else. Every alien species in the known galaxy agreed on one thing: stay away from Mirai. The warnings were ancient, written in dead languages that took decades to translate. The guardians who sleep in sacred waters, do not wake them. Do not disturb their rest. But humans were new to the galactic community. Only 200 years since first contact. And in those 2 centuries, humanity had earned a reputation. They went places others wouldn't. They asked questions others didn't. They were reckless, curious, and impossibly stubborn. Taemin was all of those things. "Energy readings are off the charts," said Corporal Minho from the science station. He was young, barely 25, with bright eyes that lit up at every discovery. "Captain, there's something on the 4th planet. I've never seen signatures like this." "Show me," Taemin ordered. The view screen changed. The 4th planet appeared. It was beautiful. Impossibly so. Blue and green swirled together. Clouds moved in perfect patterns. But there was something else. At the center of the largest continent, a massive body of water glowed. Even from orbit, they could see it. Blue-green light pulsed like a heartbeat. "That's not natural," Hyejin whispered. "No," Taemin agreed. "It's not. He should report this. Call back to command. Let someone else make the decision." But he knew what would happen. The bureaucrats would debate for months. The aliens would protest. The opportunity would slip away. Humans didn't become explorers by waiting for permission. "Take us down," Taemin said. "Landing coordinates. 2 kilometers from that water source." "Sir," Hyejin stood up. "The regulations—" "I know the regulations, Lieutenant." Taemin met her eyes. "I also know that we're the only species brave enough to find out what's really down there." "What are they hiding? Why are they so afraid?" Hyejin held his gaze for a long moment. Then she nodded and sat back down. "Aye, Captain." Beginning descent. The horizon's edge fell through the atmosphere. The planet welcomed them with perfect weather. No storms, no turbulence, just clear skies and warm air. They landed in a meadow of strange flowers that glowed softly in the fading light of the system's star. Taemin suited up in the cargo bay. The others watched him. "You're going alone?" Minho asked. "First contact protocol," Taemin said, checking his suit seals. "If something goes wrong, I don't want to risk the whole crew. You keep the ship ready. If I'm not back in 3 hours, leave without me." "Captain," Hyejin started. "That's an order, Lieutenant." Taemin's voice was firm but not unkind. "If I'm not back, you get this data to command. Let them know what we found. Let them decide what comes next." He didn't mention the other reason. The real reason: if this was going to be dangerous, he wanted it to be his choice. His risk, not theirs. The cargo ramp lowered. Taemin stepped out onto alien soil. The world was alive with sound. Strange birds called from twisted trees. Insects buzzed in colors that Earth had no names for. The air smelled like rain and flowers and something else. Something old. Taemin walked toward the glow. His suit sensors showed nothing dangerous. No toxins, no radiation, just pure clean air. He could have walked without the suit, but that would be pushing recklessness too far. The trees gave way to stone. Ancient monuments rose from the ground. They were covered in symbols that hurt to look at. Not because they were ugly, but because they were too perfect, too precise. Each line carved with absolute certainty. Taemin's translator tried to read them. It failed. These weren't any known language. But he understood the feeling behind them. Warning, danger, stay away. He kept walking. The Oasis appeared suddenly. One moment there were trees. The next he stood at the edge of an enormous body of water. It stretched for kilometers in every direction. The water was perfectly still, like glass, like a mirror. It reflected the sky above, but something was wrong. The reflection showed different stars, constellations that didn't exist in this system. Taemin's breath caught in his throat. He had seen beautiful things in his years as an explorer. Nebulas that painted space in impossible colors, planets made of diamond and ice. But this was different. This was sacred. He understood why they called it forbidden. More monuments surrounded the water. These were bigger. Statues of creatures that looked like dragons mixed with humans. 4 of them. 4 female forms with wings and scales and eyes that seemed to watch him even though they were stone. Horizon's Edge, this is Taemin, he said into his comm. I'm at the Oasis. Beginning recording. Static answered him. Then Hyejin's voice, broken and distant. Captain, interference. Can barely, the comm died. Taemin felt very alone. He approached the water's edge. His sensors showed nothing. No life signs. No energy readings beyond the strange glow. Just water. But Taemin had learned to trust his instincts. And every instinct screamed that something was watching him. He knelt down. Reached out to touch the water. The surface rippled. Taemin froze. He hadn't touched it yet. His hand was still inches away. But the water moved. Slowly at first. Small waves that spread outward in perfect circles. Then bigger movements. The entire oasis began to churn. He should run. Get back to the ship. Lift off and never look back. But Taemin stayed. Rooted to the spot. Unable to move. Unable to look away. Something rose from the depths. 4 shapes. Massive beyond comprehension. The water lifted with them, cascading off scales that shimmered with inner light. Silver and crimson and emerald and opal. Colors that changed as they moved. Each shape was easily 50 feet tall. Dragon-like creatures with wings that could blot out the sun. Taemin's heart hammered in his chest. His suit alarm screamed at his elevated heart rate. His hands shook. Every cell in his body told him to run, to hide, to do anything but stand there. But he couldn't move. Couldn't speak. Couldn't do anything but watch as the 4 dragons rose fully from the water and looked down at him with eyes older than civilizations. Then they changed. The massive forms shimmered like mirages, grew smaller, more compact, more human. In seconds, 4 women stood before him, beautiful in a way that felt dangerous. Each one radiated power that made his skin tingle even through the suit. The tallest had silver hair and eyes like galaxies. She looked at Taemin with something between curiosity and anger. When she spoke, her voice resonated in his bones, and impossibly she spoke Korean, his language, his words. 10,000 years, she said. 10,000 years of peace, and a human breaks it. Taemin finally found his voice. It came out as a whisper. I'm sorry. The silver-haired woman smiled. It was not a kind smile. Sorry will not save you, explorer. The 4 women circled Taemin like predators studying prey. Water dripped from their hair and clothes, but they moved with impossible grace. Each step was perfect. Each gesture controlled. They were not human, no matter how human they looked. The silver-haired one stood directly in front of him. Up close, Taemin could see the faint shimmer of scales along her neck and arms. Her eyes held entire galaxies, swirling slowly as she examined him. I am Daun, she said. First of the sisters. Keeper of memory and wisdom. She gestured to the others. You have awakened all 4 of us. I hope your life was worth the curiosity. The second woman stepped forward. She had crimson and gold coloring, with fierce eyes and a warrior's bearing. Scars marked her arms and shoulders, somehow making her more beautiful rather than less. She looked at Taemin like she was deciding which bone to break first. Bora, she said simply. Second sister. I protect what must not fall, and you, little human, have trespassed on sacred ground. The third sister seemed gentler. Her scales were emerald mixed with sapphire, and her eyes studied Taemin with intense interest rather than anger. She tilted her head like a bird examining something new. Yunha, she introduced herself. Third sister. Scholar and seeker. I must admit I am fascinated. We were told no one would come, that the warnings would hold. Yet here you stand, she smiled slightly. How delightfully unexpected. The last sister laughed. The sound was like wind chimes and breaking glass mixed together. Her scales shifted colors as she moved, opal and pearl and rainbow all at once. She was smaller than the others, younger looking, but her eyes held danger. Nari, she said, practically bouncing on her toes. Youngest sister. And the most fun. She leaned close to Taemin, sniffing him. You smell like fear and determination, I like it. Most beings just smell like fear. Taemin forced himself to stand straight, to meet their eyes. His training screamed at him to be diplomatic, to be careful, to survive this encounter. But something deeper told him these beings would respect honesty more than flattery. "My name is Captain Taemin," he said, "of the human exploration vessel Horizon's Edge. I came here seeking knowledge. We meant no disrespect to you or this place." "Meant no disrespect?" Bora's voice was sharp. "The entire galaxy knows this system is forbidden. The warnings are clear in 1,000 languages. Yet you came anyway." "Because we're human," Taemin said. "We see forbidden and we wonder why. We see warnings and we ask what they're protecting. It's not about disrespect. It's about understanding." Daeun's eyes narrowed. Understanding. Such a human concept. You live for decades, die before you truly learn anything, yet you hunger for understanding like it will save you. "It might," Taemin replied, "or it might kill us. But we'd rather die knowing than live in ignorance." Yunha made an interested sound. "Oh, I like him. Can we keep him sisters?" "He broke the peace," Bora said flatly. "His ship sits on sacred ground. His presence has awakened us from necessary sleep. The law is clear. He must be punished." "But he's so interesting," Nari protested. "When was the last time anything interesting happened? 1,000 years? 2,000? Let's at least talk to him before we kill him." "We are talking to him," Bora pointed out. "Before we kill him, then," Nari amended cheerfully. Taemin's mouth was dry. He should be terrified. He was terrified, but he was also strangely calm. Maybe this was how it ended, stepping into forbidden space and paying the price. At least it was an interesting death. "Why do you speak Korean?" he asked. "How do you know my language?" Daeun raised an eyebrow. "We speak all languages. When you have lived as long as we have, words become fluid. We reach into your mind and take the sounds you understand. It is simpler that way." "How long have you lived?" "Long enough to watch stars be born and die," Daeun said. "Long enough to see 1,000 species rise and fall. Long enough to know that you humans are very, very young." Bora crossed her arms. "Young and foolish. Your species has been in space for what? 2 centuries? And already you break the oldest laws. Already you push boundaries you don't understand." "That's what we do," Taemin said. "Humans push boundaries. It's how we survived on our own planet. It's how we reach the stars. It's how we learn. And it's how you die," Bora countered. Yunha moved between them. "Sisters, perhaps we should explain before we execute. He deserves to know what he has stumbled upon." Daeun considered this. Then she nodded slowly. "Very well. Human, you stand at the last temple of the progenitors. Do you know this name?" Taemin searched his memory. The progenitors. Ancient race that supposedly seeded life across the galaxy. Most species consider them mythology. "They were not mythology," Daeun said. "They were real. They created worlds. They shaped species. They built wonders that your kind cannot imagine. And then they vanished, leaving only guardians behind." "You," Taemin breathed. "You're the guardians." "We are," Daeun confirmed. 4 sisters bound by duty and magic. We watch over what the progenitors left behind. This oasis is not just water. It is a seal, a lock. Beneath it lies something precious and dangerous." "What?" Taemin asked. Bora's eyes flashed. "That is not your concern, it is ours. For 10,000 years we have slept and woken in cycles, guarding, watching, keeping the curious away. The other races learned to respect the boundary. They understood the warnings. But humans are too young to understand," Nari sang. "Too reckless to care. Too brave or too stupid to stay away." She grinned at Taemin. "I haven't decided which you are yet." "Maybe both," Taemin admitted. That made Nari laugh again. Even Yunha smiled. Daeun did not smile. "Your honesty is refreshing, human. But it does not change what must happen. You have violated sacred law. Your presence here has awakened us before our time. This disrupts the cycle." "What happens if the cycle is disrupted?" Taemin asked. "Others will sense it," Yunha explained. "There are beings in this galaxy who have waited millennia for a chance at what we guard. If they sense weakness, if they sense change, they will come, and they will not be as patient as we are." "Then I've endangered you," Taemin said. "I'm sorry, truly, I didn't know." "Ignorance is not innocence," Bora said. "You chose to come here. You chose to ignore the warnings. You chose your fate. Then what is my fate?" Taemin met her eyes. "You're going to kill me?" Daeun stepped forward. "We are debating that. My sister Bora believes in swift justice. Remove the problem before it grows. My sister Yunha argues for mercy and study. Now he wants to test you, to see what makes humans so reckless. And you? Taemin asked. What do you believe? Dayun was quiet for a long moment. The other sisters watched her. Clearly she was the leader. The decision-maker. I believe, she finally said, that the progenitors left us a prophecy. They spoke of a young species that would come. A species that lived briefly but burned brightly. A species that would challenge everything. You think that's humans? Taemin asked. Perhaps. Or perhaps you are simply another foolish race that will burn out and die. Daewon's eyes bore into him. But I am willing to test this. To see if the prophecy holds truth. What kind of test? You will answer questions, Daeun said. 3 questions from 3 sisters. If your answers satisfy us, we will let you live. We will even tell you truths about the universe. But if you fail, we will destroy your ship and everyone aboard. We will ensure that no human ever comes here again. Taemin's heart sank. His crew, Heejin and Minho and the others, they would die because of his choice. That's not fair, he said. They didn't know. I made the decision to come here alone. Life is not fair, human, Bora said. This is the price of leadership. You risk others when you make choices. Daeun raised her hand. Do you accept the challenge, Captain Taemin? Will you speak for humanity? Will you prove your worth? Taemin thought of his crew, of humanity spreading through the stars, of all the exploring still to do. He could say no, but they would kill him anyway. At least this way there was a chance. I accept, he said. Dayun stepped back and the 4 sisters formed a semicircle around Taemin. The oasis behind them glowed brighter, as if responding to their presence. The water began to ripple again, creating patterns that looked almost like words in languages Taemin couldn't read. 3 questions, Daewon repeated. I will ask first, then Bora, then Yunha. Each question will test something different about your species and your worth. Taemin nodded. His mouth was dry, but he forced himself to stand tall. His crew's lives depended on this. Maybe all of humanity's future depended on what he said next. Dayun's eyes became distant, as if she was looking at something far away. I have watched civilizations rise and fall. I have seen species achieve greatness and then fade into dust. I have witnessed empires that thought themselves eternal crumble in a single generation. She focused back on Taemin. Here's my question, human. What makes a life matter when the universe will eventually forget everything? Taemin felt the weight of the question. Philosophy had never been his strength. He was an explorer, a man of action, not a thinker. But he couldn't give a simple answer. These beings had lived for thousands of years. They would see through any shallow response. He thought about his crew, about Heejin, who had a daughter back on Earth, a little girl who drew pictures of stars and dreamed of meeting her mother after each mission. He thought about Minho, so young and excited about every discovery. About all the people back home who looked up at the stars and wondered. The universe might forget, Taemin said slowly. But we don't. A life matters because of what it gives to others. Every moment of kindness, every sacrifice, every dream shared. These things ripple forward. My mother taught me to be curious. That curiosity brought me to the stars. Someday I might teach someone else and they'll go even farther. We're remembered by the people we touch and they carry us forward. He paused, then added, maybe the universe forgets, but the people we love remember, and they make sure we matter. Dayun was silent for a long moment. The other sisters watched her, waiting. Finally, a small smile touched her lips. You speak of legacy, of connection. I have seen many species obsess over immortality, over being remembered forever, but you accept that you will be forgotten and you find meaning anyway. She nodded. Your answer is acceptable, human. Taemin felt relief wash over him. 1 down, 2 to go. Bora stepped forward. She didn't circle him like a predator this time. Instead, she stood directly in front of him, close enough that he had to look up to meet her eyes. This close, he could see the scars more clearly. Burn marks. Claw marks. Evidence of countless battles. Humans are weak, Bora said bluntly. I have studied your species. Your bones break easily. Your skin tears. Disease kills you. Age kills you. A dozen things kill you that wouldn't harm most galactic species. You live maybe 100 years if you're lucky. Yet you challenge gods. You defy the void. You push into dangerous places like this one. Her eyes narrowed. Tell me, Captain, what is true strength? This question hit different. Bora was a warrior. She would see through any romantic answer about courage or determination. She had fought. She had bled. She knew what real strength looked like. Taemin looked at the scars on her arms. Each one told a story of survival, of pain endured and overcome. True strength isn't the absence of weakness, he said. It's continuing despite it. Yes, we're fragile. We know our bones break. We know we'll die. Every human knows they're temporary. But we go forward anyway. He met her eyes. You have scars. That means you've been hurt. But you're still here, still fighting. That's strength. Not being invincible. Being vulnerable and fighting anyway. He thought of his own fears. Every time he stepped onto a new world, he was afraid. Afraid of the unknown. Afraid of making mistakes. Afraid of getting his crew killed. But he did it anyway. Humans are afraid all the time, Taemin continued. We're afraid of death, of failure, of being forgotten. But we explore anyway. We build anyway. We love anyway. We choose to matter even knowing we could break. That's our strength. Not that we can't be hurt, but that we continue despite knowing we will be. Bora stared at him for a long time. Then unexpectedly she laughed. It was a sound like thunder rolling across mountains. You have courage, little human. Perhaps foolish courage, but courage nonetheless. She reached out and gripped his shoulder. Her hand was strong enough to crush him, but her grip was almost gentle. Your people are warriors, even if you don't carry swords. I respect that. She stepped back and Taemin breathed again. 2 down. Yunha practically danced forward. Her eyes were bright with curiosity and excitement. Of all the sisters, she seemed the most interested in him as a person, rather than a problem to solve. My turn, she said happily, and I have been thinking about what to ask since you arrived. She clasped her hands together. We have lived for eons, Captain Taemin. We have accumulated wisdom that fills libraries. We have seen technologies rise and fall. We know the secrets of the universe. She leaned closer. Yet somehow your young species discovers things even we do not know. You find solutions we never considered. You create ideas that surprise us. How can this be? How can the young teach the ancient? This was tricky. Taemin couldn't claim humans were smarter. They clearly weren't. The sisters had thousands of years of knowledge. But Yunha was right. Humanity had surprised the galaxy multiple times. They had developed technologies the older races said were impossible. They had solved problems in ways no one expected. Why? Taemin thought about his training, about how the Academy taught explorers to approach problems. They emphasized creativity, thinking outside established patterns, trying things that seemed crazy. You've seen too much, Taemin said. When you live forever and know everything, patterns become predictable. You know what should work and what shouldn't. You know the proper way to solve problems. But we don't, he warmed to the idea. Humans don't know what's impossible. We're too young, too ignorant, so we try things you'd never consider. We fail a lot. We make mistakes, but sometimes we stumble into discoveries by accident because we didn't know we weren't supposed to try. Yunha's smile grew wider. It's like a child learning, Taemin continued. Children try to stack blocks in ways that shouldn't work. Sometimes they fall, but sometimes they discover a new way that adults never thought of because adults already know the rules. He looked at all 4 sisters. Fresh eyes see fresh paths. We're not smarter than you. We're just ignorant enough to try impossible things. And sometimes the impossible works. Yunha clapped her hands together. Yes, oh exactly, yes. She turned to her sisters. This is what I have been trying to tell you for centuries. New perspectives matter. Change matters, she beamed at Taemin. You understand? How wonderful. 3 down. Taemin started to relax. He had done it. He had answered their questions. Then Nari stepped forward and his relief died. The youngest sister had been quiet during the other questions, just watching and smiling that dangerous smile. Now she moved like liquid, circling him slowly. The colors in her scales shifted with each step. My sisters have tested your mind and spirit, Nari said. But I test something different. She snapped her fingers and the world changed. Taemin gasped. He was no longer at the Oasis. He stood in a great hall filled with books and technology. Holographic displays showed star charts and equations. Beings of light moved through the space, teaching and learning. It was beautiful. Overwhelming. Perfect. This is one future. Nari's voice came from everywhere. Accept our knowledge. We will teach you everything we know. Technology that could save billions. Wisdom that could prevent wars, all the secrets of the progenitors. The vision shimmered, but you must promise to use it carefully. To stop exploring dangerous places, to stay safe, to be cautious. We will guide you like children, and you will grow strong. The vision changed. Now Taman saw humanity spreading through the stars. Ships going to distant galaxies, humans laughing and exploring and discovering. They made mistakes, some died. But they were free, wild, unbounded. This is the other future, Nari said. You stay as you are, reckless, curious, free to make your own mistakes and your own discoveries. But you get no help from us. No ancient wisdom. You face the universe alone. The visions faded. Taman stood back at the Oasis and Nari stood before him, her eyes dancing with mischief. Choose, Captain, she said. Freedom or wisdom? Taman's mind raced. Both futures were tempting. The first offered safety, knowledge, everything they needed. The second offered freedom, but at great cost. But that was the trap, wasn't it? Nari wasn't really offering a choice. She was testing whether he understood what made humans human. I refuse both, Taman said. Nari's eyebrows rose. Oh? You're asking me to choose between things we need. We need wisdom. We need freedom. We can't give up one for the other. He met her eyes. We'll take whatever knowledge you're willing to share. But we won't stop exploring. We can't. It's not recklessness. It's hope. He thought about Hyojin's daughter looking up at the stars. Every time we reach into the unknown, we're saying the universe is worth discovering. That tomorrow might be better than today. That there are wonders still to find. If we give that up, we stop being human. Nari grinned widely. Perfect answer. The four sisters looked at each other. Something passed between them. A silent conversation that Taman couldn't hear. Finally, Dawn nodded. You have passed our test, Captain Taman, she said. Not because your answers were perfect. They weren't. But because they were honest. Because they showed us what humanity truly is. Does that mean we can live? Taman asked. My crew and I? Yes, Dawn said. You may live. But the trial was never really about right or wrong answers. It was about understanding. We needed to see if your species was ready. Ready for what? Bora crossed her arms. To hear the truth. To know what we guard. To understand what burden you have stumbled upon. Yunha moved to the edge of the oasis. She gestured for Taman to follow. When he stood beside her, she pointed at the water. Look closely. Tell me what you see, Taman looked. At first, he saw only his reflection. Then, as his eyes adjusted, he saw deeper. Beneath the surface, something massive rested. It was made of metal and crystal, shaped like a sphere covered in symbols. It pulsed with the same blue-green light that lit the oasis. What is that? He breathed. The seed vault, Dawn said. The last and greatest creation of the progenitors. It contains the genetic template of every species they created. Every world they touched. Every form of life they deemed worthy of existence. Taman's mind reeled. Every species? But that would be thousands. Tens of thousands, millions, Yunha corrected. The progenitors traveled for eons before they vanished. They shaped life across multiple galaxies, and they stored all of it here, a backup, a second chance if something went wrong. Why here? Taman asked. Why this planet? Because it is hidden, Bora said, protected by warnings and time. The progenitors knew that one day, someone would try to steal the vault, to use it for conquest or control. So they made it impossible to find, and they left us to guard it. Nari sat at the water's edge, trailing her fingers through the surface. We've been here for 10,000 years, sleeping in cycles, waking to check that the seal holds, sleeping again. It's terribly boring, but necessary, Dayun added. The vault cannot fall into the wrong hands. If it did, entire species could be erased, or enslaved, or reshaped into weapons. The power to create life is also the power to destroy it. Taman felt cold despite the warm air. And I led you here. I broke the silence. If there are others looking for this place, they'll know something changed. Yes, Dawn said simply. You have put us all at risk. The guilt hit Taman like a physical weight. His curiosity, his need to know. He had endangered something infinitely precious. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I never meant to. We know. Yunha interrupted gently. That is why we tested you. We needed to understand humans, to see if you were a threat or an opportunity. An opportunity? The four sisters exchanged glances again. Finally, Dawn spoke. The progenitors left us a prophecy along with their instructions. They said that one day, a young species would come to this place, a species that lived briefly but burned brightly, a species that would challenge the old ways and bring change. You think that's us? Taman asked. Humans? We did not believe it at first, Bora admitted. How could mayflies understand eternity? How could a species barely out of its cradle be trusted with such power? But you have proven something, Yunha said. You are reckless, yes. Ignorant, absolutely. But you have heart. You have hope. You believe in tomorrow. Nari jumped to her feet. And you're fun. The galaxy has been so boring without chaos. Every other species is cautious and careful and old. But humans, you do ridiculous things and somehow survive. Diane raised her hand and the others quieted. Captain Taman, we offer you a choice. Not a test this time. A real choice that will affect your entire species. Taman's heart pounded. What choice? Take custody of the seed vault, Daun said. Become the new guardians. We will teach you what you need to know. We will help you protect it. But the responsibility will be yours. You can't be serious, Taman said. We're not ready for that. We barely have a few dozen worlds. We're still fighting among ourselves. We can't protect something this important. No one is ever ready, Bora said. We were not ready when the progenitors chose us. But we learned, or we died. That is the way of guardians, but why us? Taman asked. Why not give it to the older races? The ones who have been in space for thousands of years? Because they are old, Yunha explained. Set in their ways. Afraid of change. If we gave them the vault, they would lock it away forever. Bury it in bureaucracy and fear. Never use it. Never let it fulfill its purpose, and what is its purpose? Taman asked. Life, Daun said simply. The progenitors believed life was precious. Worth protecting. Worth spreading. But the older races have forgotten this. They see new life as a threat. They want stability, order, control. Nari grinned. But humans, you see new things and get excited. You want to explore, to discover, to meet new species. You're perfect for this job. If you don't mess it up completely. Taman's mind was spinning. This was too much, too big. He needed to talk to his crew. To command back on Earth. This wasn't a decision one person could make. I need to contact my ship, he said. I need to talk to my people. Of course, Daun said. She waved her hand and Taman's comm crackled back to life. Captain! Hyojin's voice was panicked. Captain, are you there? We lost your signal. We were about to come looking for you. I'm fine, Lieutenant, Taman said. Stand by. I'm going to explain something and I need you to listen carefully. He told them everything. About the sisters. About the test. About the seed vault and the choice he was being offered. Yijin and the others listened in stunned silence. When he finished, there was a long pause. Then Hyojin spoke. Captain, this is beyond our authority. We need to contact Earth Command. Let them decide. I know, Taman said. But I need your opinion first. As my crew, as my friends. Should we do this? Another pause. Then Minho's young voice came through. Sir, they chose us for a reason. Maybe we're not ready. But maybe that's the point. Maybe being ready means being willing to try anyway. We could die, Hyojin said softly. All of us. All of humanity could be targeted if we take this on. We could, Taman agreed. But if we say no, someone else will eventually find this place. Someone who might use it for the wrong reasons. At least we know we'll try to protect it. Silence from the comm. Then Hyojin laughed, short and sharp. 6 years I've served with you, Captain. 6 years of watching you make insane decisions that somehow work out. I suppose this is just another one. Is that a yes? That's a yes, sir. We're with you. Taman looked at the four sisters. They waited patiently. These ancient beings who had seen civilizations rise and fall, and they were asking humanity, young and reckless humanity, to guard their most precious treasure. It was insane. It was dangerous. It was probably going to get them all killed. We accept, Taman said. Daeun smiled. This time it was warm, almost proud. Then it is time for the ritual of transfer. This will mark you, Captain. It will bind you to the vault. You will be able to call upon us in times of great need, and you will feel when the vault is threatened. She placed her hand over Taman's chest. Her palm glowed with silver light. The other sisters joined her, each adding their own color. Silver, crimson, emerald, and opal. The light was so bright that Taman had to close his eyes. Heat spread through his body. Not painful, but intense. Like fire and ice and lightning all at once. He felt something change inside him. A new awareness, a connection to the water below, to the vault, to the four sisters themselves. When the light faded, he looked down. A mark glowed on his palm. 4 intertwined symbols, one for each sister. As he watched, the glow faded, but the mark remained, a permanent reminder of what he had accepted. "It is done," Dawn said. "You are a guardian now, part of an ancient line. May you prove worthy of the honor." Bora gripped his shoulder again. "If your species betrays this trust, I will personally hunt down every human world." "Do you understand?" "I understand," Taemin said. Yunha bounced excitedly. "This is wonderful. I'm coming with you. I must study your species, learn everything about you. Someone has to teach you how to be proper guardians." "Me too," Nari said. "I want to see what humans do with this. It will be entertaining at least." Dayun nodded. "Bora and I will remain here guarding the Oasis. But Yunha and Nari will accompany you. They will guide you, teach you, and watch you." Her eyes hardened slightly. "Do not disappoint us, Captain Taemin." "I'll try not to," Taemin said. He looked at the 2 sisters who would be joining him. "Ready to see what humanity has to offer?" Yunha grinned. "I've been ready for 10,000 years." The horizon's edge lifted off from the forbidden planet with 2 new passengers. Yunha and Nari had transformed into more compact forms, looking almost human except for the occasional shimmer of scales and the otherworldly quality of their eyes. They explored the ship with childlike enthusiasm, touching everything and asking endless questions. "This is how you travel between stars?" Nari asked, poking at a control panel. "So slow. We could teach you better methods." "Please don't touch that," Minho said nervously. "It controls life support." Yunha was already in the ship's small library, reading through digital files at impossible speed. "Fascinating. You've only been in space for 2 centuries, and you've already made contact with 17 species, made friends with 4, made enemies with 3, and confused all the others." She looked up, eyes bright. "You really are chaos, aren't it?" Hyojin stood next to Taemin on the bridge. They watched the planet fall away, the glowing oasis becoming a small point of light. "Sir, what have we gotten ourselves into?" "I honestly don't know," Taemin admitted. "But it's too late to turn back now." The return journey to human space took 3 weeks. In that time, Yunha and Nari learned everything they could about humanity. They watched movies and were horrified by some, delighted by others. They read history books and asked uncomfortable questions about human wars and conflicts. They tasted human food and declared most of it acceptable, though Nari insisted that humans needed to be more adventurous with spices. "You have so much potential," Yunha said one evening in the mess hall. "But you waste so much time fighting each other." "Why?" "Because we're human," Taemin said. "We don't always agree on things. Different cultures, different beliefs, different goals. But you're all the same species," Nari pointed out. "We had 4 sisters and we barely fought. You have billions of humans and you can't stop fighting." "Did you really barely fight?" Ijin asked with a smile. 4 sisters living together for 10,000 years. Nari paused, then grinned. "Okay, Bora tried to kill me at least 6 times. But that was different." When they finally reached the border station of New Busan, the authorities were waiting. Word had somehow spread that the horizon's edge had entered the forbidden zone. The station commander, a stern woman named Commander Jiwon, practically screamed over the comm. "Captain Taemin, you are ordered to dock immediately and prepare for arrest. You have violated the most serious galactic law. You have endangered diplomatic relations with every species in known space. What do you have to say for yourself?" "We come in peace?" Taemin tried. "That's not funny, Captain. I wasn't joking." The docking was tense. Armed guards waited at the airlock. But when Yunha and Nari stepped off the ship, still in their humanoid forms but radiating unmistakable power, the guards backed away. Commander Jiwon went pale. "What have you brought back?" "The guardians of the progenitor's seed vault," Taemin said. "And humanity's new responsibility. We need to talk to Earth Command, immediately." The meeting with Earth Command took place via secure video link. 12 high-ranking officials sat around a table on Earth, staring at the screen where Taemin, Yunha, and Nari explained everything. The officials looked skeptical, then shocked, then terrified. "You're telling us," the Earth Director said slowly, "that you've made humanity responsible for guarding the most important artifact in galactic history?" "Yes, sir," Taemin said. "And you did this without authorization?" "There wasn't time to ask permission, sir. The sisters needed an answer. "This is insane," another official said. "We can't protect something like this. We'll be targeted by every hostile force in the galaxy." Yunha leaned forward. "You already are targeted whether you know it or not. The hierarchy watches you. The collective mind studies you. The void priests hate you. You made enemies the moment you reached the stars. At least now you have allies. Terrifying ancient allies who could destroy us if we fail," the official muttered. "Yes," Nari said cheerfully. "So don't fail." The debate went on for hours. Some officials wanted to refuse the responsibility, return the vault to the sisters, pretend none of this happened. Others saw opportunity, a chance for humanity to matter on the cosmic stage, to prove themselves to the older races. Finally, the Earth Director made the decision. "We accept. But Captain Taman, you realize what you've started. If this goes wrong, it's your head." "Yes, sir," Taman said. "I understand." News spread through the galaxy within days. The humans had awakened the Forbidden Guardians. The humans had taken custody of the Seed Vault. The reactions were immediate and varied. The friendly species, like the Kalari and the Vishan, were cautiously supportive. If anyone was crazy enough to guard something that dangerous, it would be humans. The neutral species, like the Torvan Confederacy, watched and waited. This would either be humanity's greatest achievement or their final mistake. The hostile species began to move. The hierarchy empire, a massive fascist power that controlled hundreds of systems, had been looking for the vault for centuries. When they heard humans had found it, they acted immediately. A fleet of 50 warships appeared at the edge of the Mirai system, demanding the vault be surrendered to proper authority. Dayun and Bora met them at the Oasis. The battle lasted 7 minutes. Half the hierarchy fleet was destroyed. The other half retreated in terror, spreading stories about dragon women who could tear apart warships with their bare hands. The hierarchy vowed revenge, but they didn't return to Mirai. On Earth, panic and excitement mixed together. Humanity was now at the center of galactic attention. Some saw it as an honor. Others saw it as a death sentence. The government acted quickly. They formed a new organization, the Order of the Oasis, a group of humans dedicated to protecting the vault and learning from the sisters. Volunteers came from every nation, every background. Scientists, soldiers, diplomats, explorers, people who wanted to be part of something bigger than themselves. Hai Jin was offered the position of First Knight Commander. She accepted on the condition that she could still serve with Taemin occasionally. "Someone has to keep you out of trouble, sir." Training began immediately. Yunha taught scientists about progenitor technology, biology, and history. Her lessons were fascinating but frustrating. She knew so much that she forgot what it was like not to know. Her students struggled to keep up, but they tried. That was what mattered. Nari trained soldiers in combat techniques that were ancient when Earth was young. She was a brutal teacher, but fair. She pushed humans to their limits and was delighted when they pushed back. "You're weak individually," she told a group of recruits, "but together you're interesting. Learn to work as one and you might survive." Taemin became the human liaison to the sisters. He split his time between Earth and the Mirai system, coordinating protection efforts and learning about the vault. The mark on his palm allowed him to communicate with Daun and Bora across vast distances. He could feel when they were troubled or when the vault was threatened. Months passed. The Order of the Oasis grew. Humanity began to understand the weight of what they had accepted. They also began to understand the opportunity. The vault wasn't just a responsibility, it was a gift. The progenitors had left knowledge inside, not just genetics, technology, history, wisdom. The sisters began sharing some of it, carefully. Not enough to make humans dependent, but enough to help them grow. Human ships became faster. Human medicine improved. Human understanding of the universe deepened. Other species noticed. Some were impressed. Others grew jealous and afraid. Yunha and Nari adapted to life among humans. Yunha loved human cities, the chaos and creativity. She spent hours in libraries and universities teaching anyone who would listen. She became a minor celebrity, the ancient being who loved learning as much as teaching. Nari found humans endlessly entertaining. She attended sporting events and concerts. She tried every type of food. She even learned to play video games and became frustratingly good at them. Humans invented violence as entertainment, she said. I approve. But both sisters also changed in subtle ways. Being around humans, their passion and brevity and chaos awakened something they had lost during 10,000 years of duty. They began to care again, to hope, to wonder about the future. 1 year after entering the forbidden Oasis, Taman stood on the observation deck of Guardian Station, a new facility built in orbit around Earth. Below, the planet turned peacefully. Above, the stars waited. Huna found him there, thinking deep thoughts, Captain. Wondering if we made the right choice, Taman admitted. The hierarchy is building forces. The collective mind is watching us. The Void Priests are sending threats. We've made so many enemies. You've also made allies, Yunha pointed out. The Kalari support you. The Veshan trade with you. Even some hierarchy worlds secretly admire what you've done. You showed the galaxy that young species can matter. At what cost? Unha was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. Do you regret it? Entering the Oasis? Starting all this? Taman thought about everything that had changed. The responsibility, the danger, the burden on his entire species. But he also thought about what they had gained. Purpose, allies, a place in galactic history. Every day, he said honestly, and I'd do it again every day. Nari appeared, materializing out of nowhere as she liked to do. The hierarchy is gathering forces near the border. Bora says they'll attack within a month. How many ships? Taman asked. 200. Maybe more, Nari grinned. Should be fun. Fun? Taman looked at her incredulously. They're going to try to kill us. Yes, but you'll find a way to survive. You always do. That's what makes humans interesting. Nari leaned against the viewport. Besides, you have us. 2 dragon sisters, an entire order of warriors, and the knowledge of the progenitors. If the hierarchy wants a war, we'll give them one. Taman looked at these 2 ancient beings who had become friends, teachers, and sisters to humanity. They believed in humans, in their potential, in their future. Far away in the Mirai system, Dayun and Bora watched the stars. They felt Taman's presence through the mark they had given him. Felt his doubt and his determination. Sister, Bora said, do you think they will survive what's coming? Dayun smiled. They're human. They'll either survive or go down fighting. Either way, it will be glorious, and I find myself hoping they survive. I want to see what they do next. When did we start caring? Bora asked. When they made us remember what it's like to hope, Dayun replied. Back on Guardian Station, Taman straightened his shoulders. A war was coming. Enemies were gathering. But humanity had faced impossible odds before and survived. Alert the order, he said. Prepare defensive positions, and send a message to the hierarchy. Tell them the Guardians are waiting. Yunha and Nari exchanged glances, then grinned. The age of new Guardians begins, Yunha said. About time things got interesting again, Nari added. Taman looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, hostile forces were coming. But humanity wouldn't face them alone. They had allies now. Ancient, powerful, terrifying allies who believed in them. We came to the Oasis looking for answers, Taman said quietly. Instead, we found purpose. And in the vast darkness of space, 4 dragon sisters smiled. The young species had proven themselves worthy. Now it was time to see if they could survive what came next. The story was just beginning.